We don't matter, they don't mind. They don't mind. We don't matter, they don't mind. Out of sight, out of mind.
Looking to run wide and
I've been running my entire life. As an Olympic gold medalist and youth advocate, I had the opportunity to turn my podiums into a different kind of platform. One where I champion and celebrate not only the next generation of athletes, but people who set them up for success. We are the key to shaping our own stories. No matter who you are or where your people come from, we are Black. We are the future. And we run things. Black culture spans continents, skin tones, and genders. Black can mean Nigerian, Black can mean Brazilian, Black can mean Dominican, and the Afro-Latinx population is the fastest growing in the country. So that means more Black runners are hitting the roads than ever before. The group Latinas Run is no different and spans the gamut of the Latinx definition, with all shades represented.
Running while Black, I find myself crossing the street from side to side because I see a group of men. I try to avoid the cat calls, and I find myself standing on the corner, stretching so people know I'm actually a runner. I've had people walk up to me and go, "What are you doing?" As if I need to give an explanation to why I'm just running down a street. When I started running here in New York City, the first thing I did was want to find a group, something that I felt like was a safe space, somewhere I belonged in. And I went up to people and said, "Do you know anybody who's Latino? Do you know any running groups that do this?" And the answer was no. So I went home and I started Googling. I was trying to find a group that catered to women specifically. I couldn't find anything that catered to my Latino community, but I kept being told that there is a Black Girls Run group, and I would join them every week, and it was the first time finding people that looked like me, finding people that ran the same pace as me, and also finding a group of women that didn't leave me behind, and I fell in love with that sense of community. After running with Black Girls Run for some time, I still felt like something was missing within myself, and I really wanted to still connect with my Latino heritage community. So finding Black Girls Run definitely gave me the courage to actually start my own club for Latinas. Latinas Run! Woo! Being able to find other women who necessarily weren't Black, some of them were, some of them weren't, but we shared the same heritage, the same culture. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to being what Afro-Latina is. Being Afro-Latina does not mean that I'm not Black. It means I am Black, but I'm also of Latin heritage. And when people think about Latinos, they think it's just a race. It's not a race. Being Latino is not a race. It's a culture. It's an ethnicity from where we come from. And Latin Americans are Black. They are Asian. They are white. And many of them are indigenous. And I think the confusion lies in between people thinking that I can't be Black and also Latina. I'm both. Latinas Run! All right, guys, so I am out today doing a run from my hotel all the way here to the border. So right behind me is Idaho. And if you see on the other side, that is the border of Washington. A couple years ago, I started traveling across the country and kind of exploring and finding places. My goal was to run in all 50 states. And it's really like being an explorer on a new mission to discover a land that many people in my community have never been to. Absolutely beautiful. Mirror Lake, Yosemite National Park. As I started traveling the country, I learned more about Black history than I had ever imagined in my life, in very historical Black places. I would stop off in the Edmund Pettus Bridge and run across it, then meet Black people there and have conversations about Black history. I would find myself in Topeka, Kansas, and learn about Brown versus the Board of Education. And going into those spaces, you learn so much about education in this country, how much is not taught to us. And it became even more of a love of running because I got to see things that a lot of people who you think would learn that in school would never know. And I would find myself sometimes driving after I'd leave a place, trying for hours, thinking, how come I never learned this history? And understanding how dangerous it was many years ago and how that's still kind of, that progression still happens today. We still see those dangers.
Keep your head up, never let it hang down. When you stand up, stand tough, make sure that you stand ground. Never worry what they say, just keep doing your thing. I'm gonna be okay. Yeah,
you know, one of the things I always say is we emulate what we see. And when we see people that look like us, we obviously want to know about it. We want to get involved. A couple months after I had launched Latinas Run, my first group, before Latinas Run, I was put on an interview at a news station. And one of the comments that kept repeating in my mind is what the newscaster said. 10% of people in amateur races are people of color. Latinos represent 5% of that.
Latinas Run!
Obviously, there's a problem. When you look at the numbers within this country, we obviously represent more than 5%. So my goal, my hope, is to see running be a representation of the country.
Gotta keep your head up, hey.
How did Black runners become synonymous with negative connotation? Considering the greatness and the sacrifice of America's long-standing history of Black dominance across track and field, how on one hand can we be the gold standard for the world and on the other be deemed less than human? The answer is both simple and complicated.
Black people have been under the microscope, both literally and figuratively, since coming to this country over 400 years ago. Our physique, athletic ability, and intellectual capacity have been the cause of speculation. Welcome to Myths of the Black Runner, featuring Olympic medalist Noah Lyles. During the Middle Passage, Africans were transported in deplorable condition. Those who survived were considered to be physically superior, the survival of the fittest theory. There's a lot of speculation about Black athletic performance, and many people often want to tie it back to slavery. The Middle Passage was an arduous journey. People often were cramped in very tight, poorly ventilated, deplorable conditions for up to 3 months. A lot of people have tried to argue that those who survived because they were more physically fit. They believe that that's the key to African American athletic success. The meaning of sports changed once African Americans began to win. Before, people used to say that athletic ability and intellectual capacity supported each other. But when African Americans started to win, people began to say that there's an inverse relationship, the intellectual inferiority theory. After Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics, people began to rethink the relationship between sports and intellectual capacity. That notion allows for widespread integration in sports because even as African Americans are competing at the highest level and winning, people are able to make an argument that still allows them to define African Americans as inferior. So whenever people have said that African Americans don't have the intelligence to compete at a particular event, African Americans started to compete in those spaces and to challenge those notions again and again. After African Americans began to dominate track during the early 20th century, scholars turned to the pseudoscience of measurement to explain African American dominance, the scientific measurement myth. Since the invention of race, it's often been tied to hierarchy, which has placed whites at the top and Black people always at the bottom. And scientists have used questionable methods to try to justify those ideals, measuring skulls, limbs, and feet to try to make arguments about why people are different. One of the things that we've learned over the last century is that those ideas are false. There's more variability within racial groups than between racial groups. Race itself is a fiction, tied to notions of hierarchy, but there's no biological basis, and limbs and skulls don't make it so. One of the most popular beliefs is that plantation owners use selective breeding to create stronger, faster, and bigger workers, the Mandingo theory. This is an important myth because it highlights this idea that there was a systematic attempt to create physically superior human beings. However, historians have not been able to find evidence that this was the case. Rather, one of the things that African Americans who were enslaved did was they fought to create family even when it was difficult. There's just not much evidence to support that African Americans were bred to create high-performing workers. Many people believe that African American athletic success is due to raw, natural talent rather than hard work, focus, and discipline. The natural ability theory. Since the 1970s, there have been a number of studies which show that there's a disparity between how African American athletes and white athletes are described in the sports media. African Americans are often talked about as natural athletes, as instinctive, as physically gifted, whereas white athletes are often depicted as intelligent, as gym rats, as hardworking. And those stereotypes spill out into the wider world, and African Americans often have to confront these stereotypes on the field and off the field. Now that we've debunked these 5 myths, the next time you see an African American win a race and you feel the need to overthink it, don't.
Now you winning, keep on winning. The best from my turf. I had a dream, then I blew like a smurf. Knew I would make it cause I put in so much work.
Parenting Black children in America resembles walking in a minefield where racism can detonate at any time. One family is meeting the challenge with the wisdom of lessons learned. At the age of 11, Blaze represents the bold, uncompromising future of running.
This is your boy Blaze, the fastest kid in the world. My name is Rudolph Ingram, aka Blaze. They know me for my 6-pack, football, and track. When people saw me running, they was very shocked because that was their first time seeing me run. All work pays off. Yes, sir.
One of Blaze's biggest viral moments was his race when he ran the 13.48. Blaze literally beats these kids by 50 feet in a 100 feet race. I literally seen all the parents, nobody recorded their own kids, everybody recorded Blaze. After that moment, it just went overly viral.
Do you know Blaze Rudolph Ingram? That one was in like a whole different country. I don't even know what that is.
What did we look at?
A superstar. If it's hard, that means it's better for you. If it's easy, you ain't gonna do nothing.
Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that?
You've been here before?
No.
So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go ahead and get this cooled down for you, and then we'll get you in. It'll be 3 minutes. You just stand there and smile, and then get cold, and then we'll be done.
My dad take me everywhere, take me out of town just to do all this training. My dad helps me be a better person because, for example, when people are talking, he teaches me how to look them in their eyes and give them respect. And now look at me.
I came from a darker background. That led me to wanting to change my environment for my kids. Because like I say, you are a product of your environment, and kids are the let's be honest, the best imitators. So when I was back then rocking the nice cars with the big rims and the big chains, Blaze had the same thing on. But when I came a businessman, you see Blaze now, he's a superstar. So it was a pretty good decision to not just change my life, but change our lives. That did not sound too good.
It's all for the game.
To me, being a black father means a lot because, you know, a lot of people say we ain't there, we're absent, and I'm like an everyday dad. Like, for my kids to not stay with me, I see my kids every day. If kids are the best imitators, be something worth imitating. Good.
Finna go to practice right now, man. We got a big track meet Saturday, though. I make a lot of track videos. Some kids, they love to play track and football. I inspire them because I be really posting like training videos and then they just want to see it and see how to get better. Some are highlights of me and my brother, Ronway. Ronway? Hey. Ready, Ronway? Yep, I'm winning too. So he was at running back and I was at quarterback. And I gave him the ball. And then what you did? I went the wrong way. He went like 100 yards the wrong way. And then he came back and scored. Yeah, he scored, and it was funny too. Everybody was laughing, and that's why his name Runway. Man, this will happen every time we get in the car, and go to practice. This is all Runway do. Hey, Runway. Will always be knocked out, man.
No, he did all that, talking about Runway sleep. Now look at him. Both of them.
My brother Blaze is smart, he's fast, and he's a leader. I treat him good, then when he do stuff what he's not supposed to do, I correct him. We just made it to the track meet. I'm ready though. I'm not even gonna lie. You ready, Roy? Yeah. You sure? Yeah. Sure, Roy? Yes.
My kids grew up very genetically athletic. You know, I kind of seen it at a very early age that both possess something that a normal kid didn't have. And one thing about it, if you see it, you mold it, it kind of develops faster than anybody else. So kind of took advantage of it.
When I run, it makes me feel good because it helps me get faster and inspire others. That's my passion. For track, you don't have to worry about nobody but yourself.
Let's be real, our biggest teacher is probably our conscience. You talk to that a lot, so I tell them, even when they're running, you know, talk to yourself. Blaze has a motto, I'm fast like a cheetah with a heart of a lion. That's what he tells himself.
I feel like a superstar because I'm a great runner. I get A's and B's, and I do good on the field and in school. I want like at least more than 60 medals. I want like at least 3 Heisman trophies. I want like 7 Super Bowl rings. I want a newspaper in like different countries and stuff like that. I mean, I got first in 100 and 200, man. Keep working hard, you'll get anything you want. Yes, sir. Work every day, but don't work every day. Don't let that go over your head.
When your body moving, you never gonna stop. Gotta get the poppin', you never gonna stop.
You ready? Yes. You sure? Yeah. I'm used to winning. It's like fun experience and amazing, and it's like it just feel good to win.
Wait a minute, I think you're trying too hard. You should hang with me. I got the key to it all. Don't play with me.
You know, Blaze is amazing in sports. He's amazing in school. He's an amazing son. So really, anything you want to be, just attack it all with the same intentions.
If you don't got passion, you can't be like a good superstar. And I just love running.
Despite imitation and cultural appropriation, it's impossible to duplicate the Black experience. Racism, sexism, and other obstacles are often placed along our path. But nothing can deter our progress. Running While Black is a convergence of our rich history, our boundless joy, our relentless perseverance.
Let's go, let's go!
To inspire the next generation, I'm doing my part by supporting the dreams of the bright students at the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation.
Ready to move! Move in! Come on, come on!
Change is a marathon, and we're leading the way.
Head down!
When it comes to the future, all I see are powerful possibilities.
Set, go!
To learn more more about the work of the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation and how to help, visit jjkfoundation.org.
Out of mind. We don't matter, we don't mind.